London peace talks at ministerial level postponed. Trump's final proposal for peace requires Ukraine to accept Russian occupation, and how Europe rejects US on another key Ukraine issue. The latest news next. Minister-level peace talks on the war in Ukraine scheduled for Wednesday in London and set to be chaired by UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy have been postponed, reported by The Guardian citing the UK Foreign Office. About details, in a statement, the UK Foreign Office stated that the Ukraine peace talks meeting with foreign ministers today is being postponed. Official-level talks will continue, but these are closed to media. The meeting was to be attended by foreign ministers from the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and Ukraine. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio withdrew from talks on Ukraine in London on April 23rd. The reason was President Volodymyr Zelenskyy's refusal to recognize Crimea as Russian, reports CNN. According to an American outlet, Rubio skipped the London meeting because Ukraine made it clear it would reject a key component of the Trump administration's peace plan. A well-informed official told the media that the US proposal includes recognizing Crimea as part of Russia. According to the source, this would also lead to a ceasefire along the front line. On Tuesday, April 22nd, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy made it clear that he is open to negotiations with Russia, but Ukraine will not accept any agreement that recognizes Moscow's control over Crimea. Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. There is nothing to talk about. It is against our constitution, Zelenskyy emphasized. Ahead of the London meeting, it became known that Rubio would not attend the talks. However, the Secretary of State held a phone call with British Foreign Secretary David Lammy. In a post on X, Rubio stated he had a productive conversation with Lammy and expressed hope for further discussions with the UK and Ukraine in the future. Crimea is Ukraine. Recognizing its illegal occupation by Russia is not a peace proposal. It's a betrayal of international law and the values the free world claims to defend. Any plan that includes legitimizing the annexation of Crimea is unacceptable. This is not a compromise, it's capitulation. Ukraine has the sovereign right to its territory, and the world must not set the precedent that borders can be changed by force. Crimea was illegally seized in 2014 through military aggression and a sham referendum. It remains Ukrainian under international law. Any attempt to recognize this occupation is a direct assault on Ukrainian sovereignty and the global rules-based order. There can be no lasting peace built on injustice. Stand with Ukraine. Do not recognize the occupation. The agreement proposed by the United States regarding Ukraine does not satisfy the European Union on several key points. This is not only due to the requirement to recognize the occupied Crimea as Russian, Reuters reports. Last week, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that the US framework program proposed by US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff in Paris was received with enthusiasm. However, according to Reuters sources, among the US proposals was recognizing Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea, a move that is a non-starter for Europe and Ukraine.
Beyond Crimea, other major sticking points remain, including Russia's push for the lifting of European Union sanctions against it before negotiations are finished, which Europe staunchly opposes.
US Vice President J.D. Vance has stated that the US has proposed a peace agreement to Russia and Ukraine which provides for the exchange of some territories and the freeze of the war at approximately the current front lines, reported by Bloomberg. About details, Vance noted that both Ukraine and Russia would have to give up some territories controlled by each side. There is going to have to be some territorial swaps, Vance said. He noted that the resulting line of demarcation will probably not precisely coincide with the front line that is currently in place. The current line somewhere closer to them is where you're ultimately, I think, going to draw the new lines in the conflict, Vance told reporters in India on Wednesday after a tour of the Taj Mahal. He added that in order to stop the killing, both sides must put down their weapons to freeze the thing and to get on with the business of actually building a better Russia and a better Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has stated that he would really not want the United States to withdraw from the negotiation process on the peaceful settlement of the war with Russia, reported by Zelenskyy during a conversation with journalists in Kyiv.
We would really not want the U.S. to withdraw from this assistance, because it's not only about aid, it's also about intelligence, ballistics, and lives. And generally, I think for Ukraine, it would mean losing a strategic partner.
He noted that Ukraine is an ally of the US, whereas the Russian Federation is an enemy.
That's why it's a very dangerous moment. I believe it would not be a very good signal if the U.S. pulls out. We very much hope that President Trump will support Ukraine and will exert pressure on Russia.
The Washington Post, citing unnamed sources, has reported on the disbanding of a U.S. task force authorized to collect data on war crimes committed by Russia against Ukraine and the dismissal of its coordinator, reported by the Washington Post. According to 3 current and former officials unnamed by the WP, the interagency task force headed by the coordinator has been disbanded. 2 of Washington Post sources said that the coordinator, who was authorized by law to collect intelligence across the government on atrocities committed by Russia in Ukraine, had been dismissed. A law co-sponsored by House Representative Jason Crow and former Congressman Michael Waltz, the current U.S. National Security Advisor, created the position under the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The atrocities coordinator position is tasked with holding Putin responsible for the crimes he has committed against the Ukrainian people, Crow said in his statement to the WP.
This position was created by Congress on a bipartisan basis, and the administration must empower whoever serves in this position to carry out their duties as required by law.
Crow said that if U.S. President Donald Trump and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard want to achieve lasting peace, they must be willing to hold Putin accountable for the crimes he's committed in Ukraine. Taken together, experts believe that these actions signal to allies and adversaries that the United States has ceased to be a global voice for the rule of law. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.